Alright, well, so let's see what we got in the, this is the plug and play turn signal kit from Turn Pro, and this is the new Sequential kit. I've already peeked in the box once. Nice little thing. You know, promises they do this all the time, but a little thing of gummy bears in there. It's not cool unless you got stickers. So, link to instructions, little sticker. There. These will be the new Sequentials. I think that's pretty well. There you got the 3M tape. Left turn. It looks like everything is very nicely done as far as plug and play stuff goes. All the connectors look. I guess that's the, yep, the 1 key on power. I got the one with the hazard, the horn, and the turn signal. So I'll do a review install video. Everything looks pretty easy to deal with. Here's the horn. And plugs for the horns with the brackets. So when they said plug and play, definitely looks to be pretty plug and play. Everything's nice and marked. I'm gonna clean the side by side up before I start installing some of this stuff, but I'll do a little run through video as I install. Alright, so tip 1 I would say is to just go ahead and pressure wash the machine pretty good. You're going to be running, you know, wires, getting to different locations. Anything will help. This first one is going to be right on the back of the tailgate here, and it's just going to pop to the side, and then it's going to expose itself. There's a tab right here, and there's another one on the back side. You can see I've got some dirt and stuff up in there, so it's going to make it a little bit fun. And I don't do any type of mudding or anything. It's just, you know, normal dust and dirt, and I do live in Virginia, so when it rains there is some mud. And that's going to pop those two apart there. So you notice there's a little bit of corrosion. Not corrosion, but dust. This is going to be the back side here. Basically, one side's going to plug into one side's going to plug into other. When I say plug and play, it's pretty plug and play. There's an adhesive that's on the back side here. I'm going to try to do it, and I'm going to get some of the smaller zip ties I have to try to zip tie that into a point, and I'll show that to you here in just a minute. Alright, so my suggestion here is wherever you're going to use the stick, make sure you use some alcohol, acetone, something. Just give it a decent wipe so it's nice and clean for the adhesive. I used a smaller zip tie than what comes on the kit. It's just a little cheap Harbor Freight special. My other little suggestion is, as you're putting stuff together, this is the ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Just take your little acetone and go around the edge of the plugs before you connect these in together. If you notice, just a touch builds out. Again, it ain't gotta be crazy, but that can help issues down the road. So you're more limited by this side of the plug. This one, if I had to, I could pop loose and really maneuver it around wherever. This is going to be the wiring harness that's going to run to your front, these three. These two is going to be for the license plate light, which I am going to install as well. So next step, I'm going to start running the harness back up to the front here. We're going to show you how I got that traced. Now, before you heat anything up on these yellow, white, and green wires, you may have to reverse them if you hook everything up and it blinks opposite. So don't heat them or do a final tape off or anything until the system's working. So actually, a little trick here is I actually flip the Honda wiring on the outside so it helps hold the braided end. See down through there. Just followed the wiring harness down as far as I could. Now here, this is where I start jumping over to the brakes. Just the biggest thing, make sure you don't have it in a potential rub point. And honestly, if you needed to change the oil or something, now would be a, you know, not necessary to remove the skid plate, but it would help. And that one goes up for the brake line there. You see should be able to see the one shiny. Everything else that's dusty is coming up through there in the back section there. And then with everything pulled out, got about that much extra. They give you plenty of harness. So the yellow and green here, if they should blink both on the left side or the right side when you turn your turn signals on. If they're crisscross, you're going to swap the yellow and green. That can fix it. I also had one crimp issue, so I ended up actually switching the front. I test fitted everything, make sure everything blinked before I finished it, but the plugs were interchangeable for the left and the right for the front as well. But do keep in mind before you tape everything up or do any type of final install that this is correct first. So I got the license plate mounted in with the included hardware. I just zipped to the plastic here, bolted it to the tag. I got it extra nice and braided tight there. Black and red connection marked, all nice and easy. I debated putting it here, but I did drop the tailgate, put the cooler on it. I debated putting it like over on the sidebar, but with the light, the bid would potentially hit. So if anybody has a better idea of where to mount this, all ears, but I think it should work for now. Got the helper on the job site, or supervisor, I should say. So we got the horn mounted in here. So I used a little bracket, bent it up at a little bit of an angle, if you can tell there, tighten everything down to the factory bolt. Bring it back up top here, and from the outside, I mean, even getting down, you really can't see it unless you're at about that angle. So it's out of the way. Shouldn't be throwing mud and stuff directly up in the home, but still directing the horn in a forward direction there. Alright, so now we're getting to the rocker hazard install. And if you haven't done the center panel yet, do more than 8 switches. When I did 8 switches, I had dummies filled in and thought I would never use it. I have one that is not in use. Other than that, everything has a function. So I don't have 2 nice spots to throw these in the mix. Thought about doing right here, but like when I get to filling back in there from the back side, there's brackets or something, whether it's coming off of this or the gauge cluster. I feel like I could end up drilling a hole if I don't hit it just right, maybe in the way of something here. This one, I can pop my cup holder out and fill back through there. I've got plenty of space, plenty of room to run the cord. And also, if you notice, if you try to do like pre-drilling before you get this kit, it's a decent amount of space, but it needs to be within, you know, so many inches of each other for both of these plugs without having to resplit the harness. And they, nicely as they did that, I definitely want to keep them there together. So next part's going to be some marking and Dremel. Alright, so I'm a fan of measure twice, cut once type ordeal. Now I'm going to use this as a cheater template, just a cheap piece of cardboard have laying around the house. Now if you don't and you're making your own template, Turn Pro does have a printable dash template, 0.84 by 1.54 that's easy to print and use if you don't have something easily available or you need the measurements. Start just a tad smaller, do your test fits, and then work out as you need to. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a corner, and I'm not going to do these the same spacing and even with me doing it like this, I'm going to probably get the Dremel for the end point. Now I could just use that same spacing right here. I'm actually going to add a little bit more. Now this being metal, that spacing's perfectly fine. Being as we are going to be cutting into plastic, I want it just a tad bit more space in there. So we're going to do something like that. And that's going to be my template. So I'm going to take a razor blade, cut these out, cut this little section out here, and that's what I'm going to use to actually mark my plastic before I start using that. Now I'm going to use this Dremel. Is probably what more people have laying around. This is pretty nice. If you do got one, you can kind of dig into the corner edge and do your cut and then work your way up from there. Probably do a video of it, but again, however, it's 50,000 ways to cut plastic, but just start small, work big, measure twice, cut once. So you see me getting the Dremel out here. I'm doing little small tweaks and retrying the toggles as I go, because you want these to be tight, not go overzealous doing the trimming here and then they just fall out loosely, but overall nice tight fit. Alright, so I've got this ran through. That's the horn hazard, that's the turn switch. Not too hard, just routed it in through the little factory harness. Removing that cup holder is really a nice time saver here. So we know that's how we would read it. So let's make sure, because these are only going to go in one way. Since that was at the bottom, and there's this little tab right here. That's what I'm putting on the bottom of both of these. Actually, that's going to be the top. That one's going to be the bottom. Yep, because that's got the lock-in. Okay, so you can see that little lock-in tab right there. I figured they'd be facing the same direction just naturally. But so there's your turn signals there. And then opposite, there goes your horns and hazards. So slide those two in. Bam. Like factory. I like pulling them through like that just so you can make sure you can see your connection, because I would have assumed it was the other way. I originally tried to plug it in like that, so we're good there. So let's start doing test fits. These are wires to battery. This is the horn. I'm not going to worry about the horn for the moment being. And what I'm going to do with the wires, just to let you know, I have a dual battery, so my secondary anything isn't on until I turn the switch on or my zombie mode. So I'm going to wire my yellow and my red together up to the panel over here. So that way, again, that's completely dead unless the switch is on anyway. So normally if you didn't have a setup like this, you'd run this to key on power, so the relays and stuff are not energized until you turn the switch on, and this to the regular battery. That's how that would work. I'm gonna try to do a good video, so if you see anything I did wrong with the install, please point it out. I did hook the key on in with the 12-volt plug-in. This only comes on when the machine's on or the switch is on anyway. So we got positive and negative, ran back to here. The horn does not matter if the switch is on or not. As soon as I connect them together, that goes off. Now I did switch them to see maybe if I had it reverse polarity, which the horn really shouldn't be the case there. Got the flasher hooked in here, goes back to y'all's main harness. My front LEDs and rear harness, rear's ran here, and this is when I noticed I had the problem. I was going to make sure I was installing the sequentials right. So, and the first issue I noticed, and I got a picture of it before I tried to do a re-crimp on it, is this was not crimped good. So I really wasn't getting anything happening. So now if I turn the right turn signal on, it's like the hazards are working. If I turn the left turn signal on, it's front right, which I do know nothing about, potentially needing to cross two wires back here, and back left. If I turn the hazards on, I can hear the relay blinking, but everything is solid. See my wires. I got the LED lights working for the license plate just fine. Green to green, yellow to yellow, and white to white. Now the white had a bad crimp on it when I went back through, and I just figured I had, didn't have one that was seated in all the way. The white didn't take much, and that's, let's see which one was it. But yeah, that crimp was bad, which I got, motorcycle splices, so I did another crimp job myself on the white one, if you can see it. It's the clear one there, but it's still doing the same. I replaced this with the new one. Everything's hooked up. Alright guys, so we're back here playing with the Pioneer again. So I called the company, and one thing I will say is, regardless as to what the company is, you're going to have a few bugs or issues, especially anytime you have a new product roll out. Everybody I've ever known that's bought the Turn Pro signal kit, plug and play, no issues. I do have one of the very first sequential kits, so yeah, and every now and again you expect a bug, but I sent them the issues I was having. And again, that's really what makes or break the company. It's not when everything works great, it's when you do have an issue. So if you see that one, that one's wired the same. All the crimps look great on this one. But if you notice that side there, see how that's got one extra white here? That's not here, so apparently that's probably, again, first set of batches, new person, whatever it might be. I mean, mistakes do happen, but as soon as I called them and they sent them a few pictures and they realized what it was, they promptly got me a new kit out, paid for the return shipping for this. So we'll get this installed and see if this gets working turn signals on the Pioneer, hopefully. All right, so great news. That fixed all my issues I was having. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some alcohol wipe, go right down through there, and pull that 3M tape. That's gonna look pretty cool. I'm gonna route that up through here. I'm gonna do the same thing with the other side. I'm gonna get everything kind of pulled back in. A couple zip ties, get it tucked, getting everything tightened up, but should be ready to roll. All right, so we got the turn signals installed. I actually switched the wires up in this side for these versus the back, since I'd done that one little splice. Little note here, I took aspartame, wiped everything down through here. Temperature's dropping right now. 3M likes some heat. I thought it was probably warm enough. My one side didn't want to stick, so another little tip is take some tape and kind of go down through there before you get to stick it, because the tape will potentially pull any dirt or contaminants. Also, my machine's got a decent amount of miles on it now. It's had lots of coats of Amsoil Mudslinger, so I think that also didn't help it. But this one I ended up stripping and putting a bigger piece of my own 3M tape. And kind of see back in here, basically what I did, tried 2 different ways. Took one of these little pry tools, kind of stuck it up in between the back side of that fender, and that pried enough space. I was able to actually just pop this through this way. This side, I removed the one screw and was able to finesse the plug from this side back the other way. I don't think the turn signal really had enough room to come back in this way, but this one I did the tape and threw some heat with the heat gun up on the plastic, just get a touch warm, and threw a touch on the 3M. That one stuck just fine, which they're using 3M tape, so that's the same thing I would use. Got my relay in here, zip tied it that way I can, like always, being able to get back to my relays if I can, for testing purposes. Everything else I kind of bundled up and just tucked back in there. So, it does look pretty cool. I like the sequential. Now I just realized I don't have, oh wait a minute, I ain't got my headlights. So I'm gonna say that's actually a pretty cool little integration there. So you have to turn the headlights on, just like the car, for your tag lights to work. So that is pretty cool. So yep, and there goes the old kit. I did button everything up. Alright, so full disclosure, putting everything up after finishing the kit. These are about the right size for that right there. So assuming this is supposed to have been between the 3M tape and the side-by-side, which would make some sense, because it's got like kind of a foamy feel, and it's obviously a glue. So that would probably help any imperfections in the plastic, probably take it up, so that's probably why it's in the kit. Just over the time frame, kind of forgot about this. I went to install that, so if you do install that, that's probably what that's for. But again, the way I did it hopefully holds up pretty well too. But yeah, would probably utilize those because they probably do have a purpose. All right, so got the Turn Pro turn signal kit installed, done the basic testing. I'm debating posting this video immediately to help anybody with installing processes if they're debating getting the kit. I'm also debating waiting a few months just to see if I have any more bugs. I don't really feel like I'm gonna have any more bugs. The kit was fairly well put together. Also, I am one of the very first people to get this new Sequential kit. So anytime you have a brand new product, I don't care what the brand is, what the product is, there's always a potential for a few hiccups in that first production run. Part of the process. The thing I will say, today's society, eBay, Amazon, cheap Chinese stuff, if you have an issue, a lot of times either you got to figure it out yourself, fix it yourself, throw the whole thing away and start over again. Because if you do get somebody on the phone, they probably are not going to understand or be very helpful. That wasn't the case with this. First issue I had, called, they realized, you know, the relay was bad. They had already shipped the relay and it literally showed up the same day I'd made the phone call because they were already knew about the problem and was sending the stuff out to fix it. When I realized I still had the turn signal kit, the blinker issue, made a phone call, sent a couple pictures. Literally, I think it was 2 days. They had the new harness. As soon as they seen where the wire was and where the issue was, harness was there. That fixed the problem. Everything's working. Everything was put together very nicely. The looms, everything else like that. And even me finding a couple crimps, if it had not been for the issue, may or may not have ever been an issue. Because again, I'm sitting there probing with the tester, trying to find stuff. And I'm thinking I didn't plug something in correctly. So I'm rechecking all my connection. I'm plugging them in that. So again, I can tell the crimp quality on those two was not the best, but everything else I touched crimp wise was spot on. So again, everybody has a potential for one or two little small hiccups. And I feel like they're the type of company, if 2 years from now, I catch a tree limb and I bust this or rip the wiring out and I call them and say, hey, I need a turn signal for this. I feel like they're going to be the ones to do it. And I like that type of attitude with the company. I do recommend them. If anybody's debating it, I would go with them. The Sequentials do look really cool. Again, I'll post if I have any issues or anything indifferent, but overall, the fit and finish of that kit is pretty awesome. So you see the final, how everything works. But anyway, if y'all have any questions or anything, feel free to drop a comment. I'll be glad to help. But overall, you know, I think this is a pretty solid company. If they make product X, Y, or Z for the Pioneer, I wouldn't hesitate to buy from them again, because again, the test of a company isn't when you get it and everything is right. It's, hey, when you have a hiccup or an issue, you know, what are they going to do? Are they going to help you out? Are they going to figure it out with you? Or are they just going to tell you tough luck? And they're not that type of company, is my opinion. So again, hope this helps. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment.